You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone revisited with Joe and Freddy. Oh, Joe, this one's so scary.
It's a spooky one.
It was the inspiration for Final Destination.
It was interesting.
This episode's called 22. Originally aired February 10th, 1961. It was shot on tape. We're almost to the end of the taped episodes. I think we have 2 left.
Thank goodness.
Maybe. This is the final of 4 episodes directed by Jack Smite. So go back and listen to the Lonely podcast for more about him. The story was adapted by Rod Serling from a short anecdote in the 1944 Bennett Cerf Random House anthology, Famous Ghost Stories. Now, that is not the origin of it, because then it goes back again. That story was based on The Bus Conductor, which was a short story by E.F. Benson. And The Bus Conductor, the original story, was the direct inspiration for another segment of an anthology horror film, one of my favorite anthologies, Dead of Night from 1945, has a segment based on this story too.
Nice.
So if you like this episode, definitely track down Dead of Night. It's really a great anthology film.
I'll check that out.
Cerf, the guy who ran Random House, he named it Random House Publishing because he figured he would print a few books at random.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cerf was a humorist and a publisher. He's one of the founding editors of Random House. He was later president of Random House and a regular panelist on the show What's My Line? He was also a moderator on there. If you don't know What's My Line, it was a panel would ask yes or no questions to contestants to determine what they did for a living. And there was like 3 iterations of it. They kept trying to bring it back, not just here, but in the UK. It's a pretty cool show. It was on in reruns. It's one of those weird game shows that stayed alive through syndication, like Card Sharks and all that. And
Nice.
Let's Make a Deal. Cast of 12, including Serling. Liz Powell, she's a dancer, hospitalized for exhaustion. This is Long Islander Barbara Nichols, platinum blonde actress, known for her distinct voice, kind of cartoonish, wisecracking character.
It's a little Brooklyn, a little like gangster mall. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she was like one of the early performers that just dove into that type of personality for everything she did. She rose to fame in the 50s. She was typecast as like strippers and gold diggers. She's a stripper in this role too. As I say dancer, her manager calls her stripper. She showcased her comedic talent in Pal Joey and Sweet Smell of Success. But her career slowed down in the 60s, leading to her to focus on television, which is what brought her to the Twilight Zone and stage work before she started to get real sick with liver disease and died really young at 47.
Oh.
Yeah, real sad.
Yeah.
I love her line in this when she's talking to the doctor. She says, "We're just delighted that we feel that way."
She does. She gives him hell, which is awesome. She's like really stands up for herself, you know?
Yeah, the doctor's a bitch, right? He has a terrible bedside manner, and it's Jonathan Harris who's going to come back in the silence. This is the first episode of 2 he's in, but he's Dr. Smith from Lost in Space.
That's who he is.
Yeah, and so
the pain of it all.
yeah. He is just great. He's known for playing like real campy characters and stuff. But I know Lost in Space is the thing I always think of for him. But he was in tons of television and film and theater. He played a lot of villains and voice animated characters. Again, another career worth looking up. Jonathan Harris. He's got a great filmography. The next time, this is his line to her. That I think summarizes the character in a funny way. The next time I see you, it will be at a ringside table, and I appreciate a subtle wink. So he's saying he's going to go watch her dance. Yeah.
Which, like, if it were phrased in a way where it's like, "Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you perform," but it's totally like, I want you to wink at me because I'm a hornball who's going to be at the side of your table.
Well, it's funny too, because the actor presents very as gay. You know what I mean? Like in almost every role he's in, he kind of plays the, you know,
interesting.
So like that line is even more kind of strange now because I'm used to seeing him what you presume are gay roles. You know, they're not blatantly saying it, but like a lot of his characters read gay. And I think this one is no different because it's kind of part of, I don't know about the actor's sexuality, but I feel like it's coming from some real place, which makes that line even more interesting to me. Barney, this is Liz's agent, is the first of two appearances by Fred with two D's, Wayne. I've never seen Fred spelled with two D's before this.
Fred.
He's going to return in The Arrival. He's from Akron too. I just mentioned last week we had an actor from Akron who played the dirtbag banker who had all the dirty thoughts. So this is another Akron native. He's best known for playing Ben Franklin. And when I say best known for it, he was Ben Franklin for all, you know, if somebody needed Ben Franklin for something, they usually hired this actor, Fred Wayne.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He really, when he's made up to look like Ben Franklin, he looks just like him. It's really uncanny.
If you look at him in IMDb, he's got the get up on.
Yeah, it looks probably just like the picture from the $100 bill, because it's that accurate. The nurse character, there's a couple of nurses. This is a nurse who appears in the morgue scene. This is the second time we're seeing Aline Sachs, who was T'Pring, Spock's fiance. I think we brought that up in the What You Need podcast because she was in that one as well. And when I say Spock's fiance, of course, I'm talking about Star Trek. I spelled it finance in here. I think my autocorrect went nuts. And she has the iconic line, "Room for one more, honey."
Yes.
Then we have a day nurse, night nurse, day nurse. That's Always Sunny, sorry. Mary Adams, known for Executive Suite, Blood of Dracula, and the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, which is another fantastic anthology series if you like the Twilight Zone. Big recommends for that. Then we have night nurse, Ms. Jameson. She also has a name in the episode. Norma Connolly. She was known for The Wrong Man. She was on General Hospital and in a film called They Only Kill Their Masters.
Whoa.
We have a couple of ticket clerks in this story. One of them is a Danish actor named Angus Duncan, but that's not the one I want to talk about. I want to talk about the other ticket clerk, Joseph Sargent. This guy directed Jaws the Revenge, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Not that Jaws the Revenge is a great movie, but I thought it was noteworthy. And then a movie that neither Joe nor I don't believe I've seen, called Nightmares, which is a horror anthology from 1983. So I'm really curious about that one.
We have to follow up on that one.
Yeah, I think so. So Joseph Sargent, a director with a mixed bag of a filmography, but a very interesting character. The episode, Barbara Nichols, she did fall in the scene, where she's running the stairs, you know, and she falls in the episode. That was real. They left it in. And I thought it was kind of interesting. They were like, they loved it. They were like, leave it in. She's hurt. It's good TV. Now Arlene, who Sachs in this, she's doing the line, and they make her look really sinister with the lighting, the room for one more, and they put this makeup on her. And I don't know if this is true, but they're saying that the makeup they used for the Vulcan version of her on Star Trek was almost identical.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I could see that.
And just kind of weird. If you're into movie makeup, TV makeup, something to keep your eyes out for. I already mentioned this inspired Final Destination, especially the final scene in that in the episode. A very similar thing happens in the beginning of Final Destination. The shot of the endless morgue hallway is really chilling to me when she first gets to room 22.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I've seen this episode a bunch of times, but this is the first time I noticed, like, the hallway behind her seems to not terminate. It just goes on forever, the morgue drawers.
Yes.
And it has this kind of arch ceiling that kind of, when I was like, that kind of looks like looking down the cabin of a commercial airline, like the big one, you know? the arch of the
yeah.
ceiling. I don't know if that was like something on purpose and they just weren't able to get the exact mirroring shot, to recall it later. But to me, it kind of feels like some kind of foreshadowing about the plane.
I did not make that connection. That's really interesting.
I might be giving it too much credit, but I think it's really there on purpose. And another notable thing, casual smoking in your hospital bed. Keep your cigarettes right there on the tray table.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And she's got like stuffed animals and stuff. It's kind of like, it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's all the behind the scenes stuff I have. Do you want to get into the story, Joe?
Let's do it.
All right.
So it starts out, it's a video episode. So like I said, it's a little jarring at that first part. And in the, I don't know which media you watched, but the one that I watched, you could tell the age of the video was showing in some scenes.
I did the Blu-ray.
Okay. With the dark blacks as she's walking through the hallway, you can see the video really gets kind of crunchy, and you can see artifacts, a lot of artifacts in the screen, which is unfortunate because this is a chilling episode. Like, this is one of those horror episodes for sure. So we open up on a woman lying in a bed holding a doll, and it's an adult woman in like a disturbed sleep. And she reaches for a glass of water at her bedside, and you hear this kind of ticking clock noise. And as she reaches for the glass of water, it kind of falls and shatters. And she gets up, and she's sweaty, and she's like unwell. She looks sick. She's kind of shivering and clutching at herself. And she walks out into the hallway, and it plays it out as like a very much a dream scenario, not kind of the wavy lines that we've seen in previous episodes, but this is the
Dutch angles and stuff.
Yeah, not all that sort of stuff, but just kind of very isolated and quiet. And she goes out into the hallway, and she sees this nurse in an elevator at the end of the hallway, and the door is closing, and the nurse's face is hidden in shadow, very dreamlike. And the door closes, and she watches the elevator descend. And so she walks to the end of the hallway and gets in the elevator and descends as well. And she gets out of the elevator. This is all done very slowly and methodically, a lot of longer shots. And she comes around and sees the morgue. And they do a close-up on the sign that says it's room 22 above the doors. And what's interesting is I didn't notice this until like a additional viewing of it. As she comes into this space, there's double doors, kind of like what do they call those? The swinging doors.
Do you
like swinging,
like saloon doors?
Yeah, not like that, but like but if you've been to a place that has a lot of traffic, but it's an industrial place, like an industrial kitchen or something, they have a full door with like a windows in it and stuff.
Oh yeah, but just big like flappy grocery back at the grocery store.
Yeah, they swing both ways. Yeah. So those are swinging when she comes around and sees them, and then a moment later she comes up to the door and a nurse bursts through. And she has an infinite hallway behind her, like you were mentioning, which is really interesting. It's almost like an optical illusion. And she says, "Room for one more, honey." And Liz screams. She gives a great scream and runs back to the elevator, kind of all disconcerted. And when she does, we get the voiceover. "This is Miss Lynn Powell. She's a professional dancer, and she's in a hospital as a result of overwork and nervous fatigue. At this moment, we have just finished walking with her in a nightmare. In a moment, she'll wake up and will remain at her side. The problem here is that both Miss Powell and you will reach a point where it might be difficult to decide which is reality and which is nightmare. A problem uncommon, perhaps, but rather particular to the Twilight Zone."
They should remake this episode with Nick Kroll as his Liz character from Publicity in the Kroll show in the main role. Be amazing.
So we come out of the next scene is Liz. She's awake in her hospital bed, and she's being visited by her agent Barney. And Barney has the craziest glasses I have ever seen, and I couldn't figure out exactly what it was about the glasses that was crazy, other than the lenses are like oddly shaped, and they're sitting at an odd angle, like they're not aligned with his eyes. Like they're on his ears like you would expect, but like the lenses tilt up or something.
I'm going to have to go back and look at this. I didn't catch that.
It's weird. It's like, it's almost like it's a fashion statement, but they're kind of sitting above his eyes, but at a bizarre angle. Anyway,
he's a gaudy kind of character anyway.
Yes. He's dead. Hey, Liz, baby. It's all that kind of smarmy, gross. And again, it's very honey kitty, that kind of,
Akron-esque.
Is it Akron-esque? I don't know.
He's from Akron.
Okay.
And the last week, the guy from Akron was also gross. He was like, I bet she's a tiger under the right conditions.
That's right. Brand. Ugh. So she's a performer, and she's frustrated because nobody believes her, and she keeps talking about how it's real, no one believes me, and we're not quite sure what she's talking about. Excuse me. And so her agent Barney is like, but doll, you just gotta get your stuff. That's where you hear the doctor. The doctor's gonna do the thing. So the doctor comes in, and she's also like, she's not happy with anybody because they're all, well, the only person who really came to visit her was this Barney guy, and she's like, ugh, like you only came to see. I've been here for weeks, and you only just came to see me now. So what I like about it is she doesn't put on a face, with all this stuff. She's frustrated and she just expresses it. And the doctor comes in and he goes, well, Miss Powell, you're looking as beautiful as ever. And I'm like, oh God. He just starts in. This is the doctor.
This is how we were, Dr. Smith.
Yes, Dr. Smith.
This is how we were trained to be as men at one point in our lives.
Right. It's, ugh. Yeah. Women like it when you compliment how they look. Okay. So Barney was like, I was just telling her the same thing myself. I'm Barney Knaver, Liz's agent. How do you do? How do you do? And the doctor goes, you make an old doctor wish he was a young intern. Like, it's the weirdest laugh. And she actually covers her ears, which I thought was awesome. She's like, you make me wish the same thing. You must be great at funerals, laughing boy. Just a great line. And so they start going back and forth, and he's like, well, we're feisty this morning. And she's like, yes, we are feisty this morning. Like, what the hell is your problem, dude? She's just, treat me like a human being. And so they go back and forth, and what they're talking about is she keeps having this same dream. And in the dream, she wakes up, she reaches for a glass. When she reaches for the glass, she hears a ticking sound that gets more and more ominous, and it's exactly as it played out at the very beginning. And they describe it word for word. When the glass falls, it shatters. She gets up. She walks into the hallway. She sees a shadowy figure, a nurse in the elevator, and exactly as it played out in the beginning. And the doctor suggests that, she's hallucinating this. It is just a dream. You're just dreaming this. You're just tired. You're just wiped out and exhausted. And he also says that it's impossible that this other nurse is, this nurse she's seeing is there because they only have one night nurse, or they only have one nurse in the morgue. And he's like, and it's this woman. And he like throws back the curtain, and he's like, is this the woman you remember? She's like, she looks for a second. She's like, no, this woman was taller and had a crazy smile on her face. And the doctor's like, all right, well, you can leave, nurse. And the nurse goes. And so, she's starting to doubt herself a little bit, but like, she's also like, no, I know this is real. I know this is so real. And so the doctor eventually gets to the point where he's like, you know what? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try changing one detail of the dream and see if that makes a difference? And she's like, and he's like, just try it. But the way he does it is very menacing. He's, again, aside from being creepy, he has this kind of His talking is very dramatic with pauses. And
maybe you should have
so
a cigarette when you wake up instead.
Yeah, right.
As your doctor,
right.
I recommend a cigarette.
As your doctor, the healing power of tobacco, which used to be an advertisement, believe it or not. So anyway, she's like, fine, I'll do the thing. And so she goes to bed, and the dream starts again. And this time she has like visualized a pack of cigarettes on the side on the nightstand, and she reaches and grabs a cigarette, fumbles with it, but then gets it in her mouth, grabs a lighter, lights it, and then she goes to put the lighter down on the or the end table, and the lighter falls. And as she goes to try and retrieve it or grab it or whatever, her hand knocks the glass down again. And it was interesting because I'll back up just a moment. When she reached for the cigarettes, the clicking of the clock was happening, and her hand was going towards the glass of water. And then she pulled her hand back and reached for the cigarettes. And as she pulled her hand back, the ticking gets quieter. So it's interesting. Like they really played with this idea of her changing the active dream. And as she reaches for her lighter, she does knock the glass down, and it shatters again. So the same result. And she, I don't know, she must have gotten rid of the cigarette, goes out in the hallway, sees the shadow-faced nurse again, and descends. Or the shadow-faced nurse descends again. So we go to a commercial break, and when we come back, the dream is continuing, and she's down in the hallway, and she sees 22 again, and she has the woman burst out again, say the same line, "Room for one more, honey," which was reminiscing with Freddy before we started, that this totally reminds me of the "Room for One More" folktale from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is my favorite all-time story book. Those treasuries are amazing.
They are great. They're a must have.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then I think that the bus conductor, that E.F. Benson, is probably the origin of it. So I'm thinking that maybe that started in print and became an oral tradition, and then eventually became, because in Scary Stories, Alvin Schwartz, right? Or
yeah, yep.
The folklorist, he collected them from like oral traditions.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that it's something that probably originated in print and became oral and then came back to print.
And then the artist, whose name is Alvin Schwartz, the one who wrote it, or the artist? I can't remember.
I can find out for you right quick.
Freddy's grabbing the book off his shelf because I've got it too. I believe the artist actually was from Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken.
Stephen Gamble.
Yeah. I could be totally wrong with that, but I feel like there was a connection there. And so, again, the "Room for One More" story in there, I believe, is a hearse or a car that they're trying to offer. Oh, no, it's an elevator.
I was about to say, yeah. And that sometimes, because the elevator malfunctions, right? Crashes.
Yeah. "Room for one more."
I'm looking for it in the table of contents. I can't remember the name of the story.
Might just be the elevator, or maybe "Room for One More."
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I was mixing it up with "Don't you ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die."
The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out.
Oh, yes. If you have on your snout.
Yep.
If you haven't read the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, don't do the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard disappointing things.
You know, the movie, if you're a fan of the book and you go see the movie, the first time you'll be let down, but then it'll grow on you if you're like me and you go back.
Revisit it.
Because you're no longer expecting it to be exactly like the book. And then you can kind of see what actually works in it.
Gotcha. I mean, it's two different mediums, but this book is so fantastic. There's another version of it, I believe, that was released with new graphics and illustrations. You do not want that one. What you want are the black and white, very kind of shaded, spooky looking illustrations. They are so scary. It was one of my favorite books of all time.
It is "Room for One More" is the title.
Okay. Okay.
And it's if you're playing along at home, it's in the section. It's in the third section. They eat your eyes. They eat your nose.
Awesome. So this was actually Scary Stories Tell in the Dark. I think was originally released as 3 separate books.
Yeah.
1 or Scary Stories Tell in the Dark, 2, and then 3. And it's also been collected in a treasury. So yeah, love that book. So room for one more. So this whole scenario goes through again, and she screams again. And as she's kind of fumbling back to the elevator, she's kind of grabbing at herself, and they clip to her in her bed, like kind of flailing, almost having a seizure, it looks like. And they're having a nurse and the doctor are kind of holding her down to sedate her. And the doctor basically says, keep her here, stay with her until she falls asleep. And they do sedate her. And then the nurse, kind of the doctor we see later, and the nurses come to the station to check in with him. And he goes, odd, and she's like, what is it, doctor? And he says, she's never been to the morgue, but she knows that it's room 22. And the nurse is like, how could she know that? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. So they clip to several days later, and Liz is getting discharged from the hospital. I don't know what changed, but she's now dressed up in her. Oh, sorry. I want to clip back to something that happened in the interchange when Barney and the doctor were there. As they're going back and forth, and they're talking, again, this is a very good archetypal scene you could break down, but they're talking over her, literally on either side of her bed, talking over her, and she's interjecting like with her own stuff. And so he's like, oh, doc, let me tell you, Barney's like, she's the greatest, this is one stripper. And she goes, dancer. She's like, come on. And he's like, a dancer. Yeah. And so she's trying to like push her and assert herself in this patriarchy. And anyway, I really liked how they played her out as standing up for herself the whole time. At the end, she's looking glamorous. She's checked out of the room. Oh, and the whole time she's in the hospital, she's in like different like dresses, fancy dresses and outfits. So she's like dressed, all the time. And then when she checks out, she's packing her bags. And again, she's got these kind of stuffed animals around that she's been clutching with her the whole time. I wonder if there's some symbolism to that too, of like some connection to having something she can rely on or something like that. But
it is an interesting choice that's never really addressed.
Yeah. She has lots of kind of stuffed animals in her room, and each time she's walking, she's holding like a different stuffed animal. And at the end, she's leaving, and she has a like a tiger or a leopard or something stuffed animal, or maybe it's a cheetah. Anyway, she's checking out, and they talk through a few things before she leaves, and the doctor just says, hey, it was dreams. It was just your nerves. And then he says the line we alluded to earlier. It's very creepy. He goes, send me a postcard from Miami Beach, will you? And she's like, sure. Like she puts on the face of like okay, now I'm going back into that mode of like, this is what I would say to one of the guys who's talking to me after I've danced or whatever. She's like, sure. And smiles. And he says, Miss Powell, they were dreams. Just a part of your fatigue. You were susceptible to nerves. That's what happens when a mind is overwrought, plays tricks. And then he changes his demeanor back to, well, I don't want to see you back here again, Miss Powell. The next time I see you, I'll be at a ringside table, and I'd appreciate a subtle wink. Yeah, exactly. And he laughs, and it's so creepy, and she's just like, yeah, like, sure. Okay. Yeah. Which I'm sure she deals with all the time. And I'm sure the actress dealt with all the time too. So it's probably a very, very comfortable reenactment. Or not comfortable, but something she's used to. Familiar. That's
men being sleazy.
Yes, exactly.
I think most women are used to that.
Yeah. Unfortunately. So she goes to the airport, and she's flying to her next booking, and she gets her ticket, and she's told it will be flight 22, loading up in just about 5 minutes. And she's like, 22? And she starts feeling, she kind of does a little exposition where she's feeling the details of her dream. She's feeling it happen again, and she's like, I'm thirsty. I'm awake, but I know I'm awake, but I'm thirsty. And so she's thinking about reaching for the water, and she hears the ticking of a clock that only she can hear, and she's kind of like getting disoriented, and she bumps into a woman who has a vase which drops and shatters.
This is a funny moment.
Yes, the woman's face, look at her face, is just like, what the fuck? Like, and just turns around and leaves.
Yeah, because she's like realizes she's not going to get any apology or reaction from Liz.
Right.
It plays really fun. I get why she's in total shock that the coincidence of the flight number and everything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really funny scene.
Well, and okay, so I may be reading into this too much, right? But here's what happened in my thought when I saw that. As first, I thought it was super funny that because she's just so dejected, like, fine, I'm going to go. But I'm like, she didn't say anything. She didn't do anything. And I wonder if there's something there. But the woman who was carrying the vase did not look like she had a lot of makeup on. It did not look, she looked kind of, that kind of made her look like a plain Jane, woman. I'm not like anything out of the ordinary, but like, I wonder if she looked at her and was like, oh, you're beautiful, you're disoriented, and you broke my vase. But I know if I say something, everybody's going to be on your side because you're pretty.
You really did read deeply into this exchange.
Right. Well, just that kind of moment, I mean, that kind of interaction. You're beautiful, so all the men are going to be like, well, it must have been your fault somehow or something.
There's some truth in that reaction, you think?
Right. I think there was something in that moment and that reaction of like, I'm going to get nowhere with this. Fine. I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to go over here.
I thought you were going to say that it could be like a replacement for the glass shattering in the dream.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was. That's what I was intended to be.
Yeah, because like otherwise nothing breaks, right?
Right. And then the knocking sound is like somebody's footsteps coming up, and a guy comes up to her, and he's like, hey, ma'am, your flight's leaving. You got to get on there. And she's still unsure. And so she's like, okay, God, this isn't right. Like this feels like I'm in the dream. And so she's kind of making her way out. And this is the old style where you would go out on the tarmac and you would walk up the stairs to get into the plane, which still happens some places. And she starts walking up there, and it's the mimicking of her walking across the tarmac as her walking to the elevator, right? And she starts walking up the stairs, and she's very, carefully kind of, you can see her processing all this stuff. She's going up the stairs instead of down the elevator, and she gets to the top, and the woman pops out of the airplane and goes, room for one more, honey. And it's the nurse.
Dun, dun, dun. But now she's a flight attendant.
And now she's a flight attendant, and she screams, and she goes back down the stairs like she's like fumbling down the stairs. And like you said, she fell down, like, and she's just running. She's freaking out, right? And she's panicking, and the flight attendant, the flight attendant, seals the door and closes it and locks it, and you see her face, like it's a very particular smile, like, oh, well. And then she kind of, you see her look over, what you just see it from her, her looking like over the camera's shoulder effectively, and seeing the people in the plane, you imagine, and she kind of smiles, and it's just a very creepy moment. And then you see Liz in the terminal, and she's just like freaking out, like, you're going to miss your flight. It's, she's panicking. She's like having a panic attack, and she's like, super freaked out. And she's like, this isn't but this is real, but this isn't real, but this can't be real. And she's just really trying to talk herself through it. And she sees the plane start going down the runway, and it explodes. It bursts into flame. And the effect is actually, because it's on video, it's very intense. It like immediately there's fire and an explosion, and it's shocking because it's very visually shocking when it happens. And she screams, but you can't hear her scream. Her scream is behind the wall, behind the window, so you see her scream just like she did when she was in the hallway. And
Dick York walks up and wipes the window.
Yeah, but it's stunning. Like, this is a terrifying episode. And then we hear Mr. Serling. Miss Elizabeth Powell, professional dancer. Hospital diagnosis, acute anxiety brought on by overwork and fatigue. Prognosis, with rest and care, she'll probably recover. But the cure to some nightmares is not to be found in known medical journals. You look for it under potions for bad dreams, to be found in the Twilight Zone.
It's a good one. It's a classic horror episode.
It's so good. Like, this is going to be one of my new favorites. I love so much about this and just what they cover. And oh man, it was good.
It is a good one. It's a keeper.
Yeah. There's one moment actually. So, and I think you experienced this, but at the end of every episode, they give you a preview of the next episode. And it's going to be the Odyssey of Flight 33. So he's actually on an airplane again, which is weird. But there's a weird quirk, and I don't know if yours has this or not, but he says, next week, so the Serling, he says, next week, you'll find each of your, okay, now I got to get in his voice. Next week, you'll find each of your names on a passenger manifest of this jet aircraft that travels from London to New York City. You'll sit in these seats, and you'll go through an experience unique beyond words, intense beyond anything I believe you've ever seen. And then he says, you'll be departing next week at about this time. And that part is overdubbed.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, same.
Okay. So it doesn't match up with his words. And I don't know what he actually said. But now I'm super curious. But he says, you'll be departing next week about this time. And he says, in a vehicle we call the Odyssey of Flight 33, but be prepared for a stop midway in the Twilight Zone.
And a new director, too, next week.
And I wondered, was there some question about what time it would air or something? I wonder if there's some event or
it could just be that
messing with the time or something.
Yeah, they just wanted to take advantage of the connection, the airplane connection. Who knows? I don't know what, because you're dealing with an episode that was filmed on or shot on tape.
Yeah,
and it was shot long before it aired, I believe, because I think the tape episodes were all shot sequentially and then released sporadically.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that where we were trying to figure out what they weren't all in a row, and it was because they just kind of did them when they did them.
Yeah, they did them, and then they
did them all together, and then they aired them.
Yeah, and then picked when to air them. So they probably just were like plane to plane, easy connection.
Yeah. So this was, anyway. I love this episode. I think it's great, and I think that she does a fantastic job of really. I'm always drawn back to whenever there's any kind of way of portraying like a madness or like uncertainty or something. I always go back to the yellow wallpaper, which, if you know your literature, is a short story that's just so intense. It's one of those that I hated reading when I was younger in high school, and then I actually read it and was like, wait a minute, this is freaking awesome. It's so creepy and moody and terrifying that the last image of it is just mind-blowing to me. And to me, that's a lot about what the Twilight Zone embodies is it's in some cases, in like this case, where it's trying to draw the line between what's a dream, what's reality, and what is somebody really experiencing. I thought the actress Barbara Nichols does just a stunning job with this, and I thought it was just great. So big fan.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know for certain that I've read the yellow wallpaper, because when you said it originally, I was like, oh, like the King and Yellow, but they're not really. I don't think they're related. They're like 100 years apart or something.
Okay, yeah, but yellow wallpaper is. I think it's. I got to read it myself.
Oh, 30
I won't
years
spoil
apart.
it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah, I won't spoil it for anybody. But it's a story essentially about madness and going mad, and it's sad but also just very. I don't know. The ending of it is what stunned me, And to a modern audience, it might not be that shocking, but it just hit me very, very much.
Charlotte Perkins Gilman.
Yes.
Everyone's trying to find it.
So, next week, The Odyssey of Flight 33, which I think I remember vaguely. It's going to be a fun one. It's a classic, if I remember.
It's all right. I feel like if I remember right, it has dinosaurs in it, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, okay. I think it's the we're going through time, but sort of.
I think they I want to say this was kind of part of like what inspired The Langoliers by Stephen King. Was part of this, but I think Stephen King did it better, personally.
Seriously, we're only in season 2, y'all, and how many stories have been inspired by these episodes?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just stunning.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot of it comes from this. You can draw it all back to that group, that writers group, man.
Yeah,
seeds of everything.
It's awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you, Joe.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Freddie, and thanks everybody for listening.